Well, welcome back everybody to the Force India career mode in F1 2017 then, and it's time for round number 17 in my least favourite track of possibly all time. Unfortunately, don't get me wrong American viewers, I love that we have a Grand Prix back in America, and I love the sort of spirit and the racing around this track. I like to watch this Grand Prix, I just strongly dislike driving it. I don't know why, but since it came onto the calendar and obviously came into the Formula 1 games, I've just not got on with this circuit. I've just about got to the point where I can get round it in an okay time, but I don't enjoy a single second of it, I'm afraid. I can't quite put my finger on why, but I just always have a nightmare around this circuit. So, hopes are not high. Obviously, we're still slightly in the hunt of maybe trying to beat Red Bull to third in the championship, but we're going to need some serious points from Sergio Perez around here, especially to make up for my dislike of it. But there's still an outside chance, but fourth, of course, was our aim before the season, and we've smashed that. We're nearer Red Bull than we are the midfield, which is a good sign. So as we go into qualifying now, we're not changing any engine components this weekend. We're going to try and see if we can get through the race with some fairly warm parts. So hopefully that won't affect our performance too much. As we do a little slight corner cut out of the final turn, we cross the line and we end up in Q1 in 11th, around about just under a second off Sergio Perez. So not a bad start and probably what I was expecting. If we're going to make time up here, it's going to be in the race. Qualifying isn't going to be our strong suit around this track. That's fair enough. But at least if we can maybe try and get closer to our teammate throughout the qualifying session, then I'll quantify that as a good result. But it's this double right-hander here that it's a quadruple right-hander really. It's one of my worst corners on the track. I just can't seem to pick a line around there. As we cut a corner again, we're probably going to see a bit of corner cutting around here, as I just don't feel comfortable or enjoy it particularly much. But we improved nicely in Q2, and we end the session just a tenth behind our teammate Perez, and we're 7th and 8th, just behind the Red Bulls, Ferraris and Mercedes. So we're obviously lacking a bit of pace in comparison to the Red Bulls ahead of us, but we have at least got that goal of getting a lot closer to Sergio Perez. So hopefully if we can do that in Q3 and line up 7th and 8th, then we can potentially have a good race from there. If we can just bring home some decent points, then I'll be happy with that. And there's that corner cutting again. You're going to see a bit of an unconventional start to the Q3 lap here. This may become the norm in future for people, just to get a little bit of heat into their tyres before they start the final lap. But we finally get it turned around, and we're under the pressure at this point, not being able to get a lap in for the whole of Q3. But as per usual, I'm going to let you sit back, relax, and enjoy a very awkward lap around Austin, Texas.
Just 30 seconds left in the session.
So as we come around the final corner then, it's been a better lap, but is it going to be good enough to get ahead of Perez? It's not. So it's only good enough for P7, just behind Sergio Perez. And we actually get knocked down one more place as one of the Red Bulls improves then. So it's 7th and 8th, about where we expected. And we're, you know, what, 2 tenths off Sergio Perez. So I think we can be happy with that considering our dislike of this track. So we just want to see if we can fight Perez tomorrow, really. If we can at least match or finish just behind our teammate, I will consider that a result around this circuit. Also, if I finish, that's a result around this circuit. You have no idea how many online races and career races at this track over the last couple of years I've just given up on. So it's going to be a tough race, but if we can take some points out of it, then that'll be a bit of a personal triumph, I'm sure.
Why do you think, though, Ants, that this Grand Prix has now found such huge success since returning to the calendar in 2012?
Well, full credit to the race promoters. They have a Grand Prix in a part of the country famed for its love of motorsport, and they do a fantastic job of advertising it to the right crowd, and then satisfying them when they're here with excellent facilities. It also tends to help when the circuit itself is good, and that's definitely true here. The layout is interesting and it produces some exciting action. Hosting a thrilling title decider like we had in 2015 wouldn't hurt either, so the pressure's on then to maintain that kind of quality here today.
So as we're showing the grid lineup for the race today then, we've got a little spot of luck. There's a couple of penalties which promotes both of me and Perez up to 5th and 7th. Vettel and Verstappen hit with a grid penalty. So that should make life a little bit easier. Of course, they are going to be quicker than us in the race, so we will have to look out for them later on. 2 incredibly similar strategies offered to us for the race. There's a 1-stop going on the Ultras and then the soft tyres. And then there's a 2-stop available on the Ultras, and then 2 stints on Super Softs. Don't know, we'll see what our pace is like and how our start is as to how we will go and which tyre strategy we will choose for the race. But for now, we just want to negotiate the incredibly tricky but very open turn 1 here in Austin. Offers a lot of opportunity for overtaking, but it narrows on exit, and we make quite possibly our best start of the year as we go around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo then, and slot in just behind Raikkonen, just avoiding damage to our front wing and nestling in ahead of Daniel Ricciardo there. And that's as good a start as we could hope for here. We're past our teammate and 1 Red Bull, and if we can find a bit of pace, a bit of rhythm around this track, then we may be able to settle into this 4th place. But of course this is me and this is Austin, so that's going to be very tricky to do. And of course we will look out for Vettel and Ricciardo later on in the race, I'm sure. But already you can see we're starting to struggle with that gap ahead to the front 3. As you can see from the top right hand side, we're already got a train behind us. We're not able to make any kind of gap, and Ricciardo is for sure going to be all over our tail in his opening few laps. And you can see there we've already got 1 engine component that's already up into 80% range. But as we get onto lap 4 then, that gap has increased to that front 3, and we're continuing to be harried by Ricciardo, but we have made a bit of a gap over those following him. So hopefully if we can not get too involved with the Red Bull driver here, we can make a good race of this. But Ricciardo, with the DRS wide open now on lap 4, is going to look to make a move down into the tight left-hander, and he doesn't quite make a move stick, but we struggle a little bit on exit. But we stay ahead for now, but it's pretty obvious it's only a matter of time before that Red Bull driver finds a way past us. And it, sure enough, into turn 1 on lap 5, we're going to go a little bit wide, and we have to correct to come back on track. Ricciardo takes his opportunity to back down the inside, and we're demoted into 5th then. As I said, we were trying to find a rhythm the opening couple of laps, but really wasn't looking like it was going to happen, as it often doesn't round here. Sometimes it just clicks, this circuit, but as I say, it very rarely happens, and we're already coming under pressure from our teammate Perez then. A long time since we've said that in this career mode. But it was a sort of a tale of mistakes, this race. As you can see, we lose the back end a little bit, and Sergio doesn't need to be asked twice. He bumps wheels and forces his way through, and we're demoted down to 6th place. And it's obvious it's going to be a very tough race here, even to finish in the points, as we run wide a little bit on lap 7, and that's the final nail in the coffin as far as we're concerned. And we dive into the pits nice and early, as we feel it's probably a change of strategy is the only thing that's going to allow us to finish in the points today. So we come in nice and early, we put on the super soft tyres, and the plan is at this point to do a 2-stop strategy rather than a long stint on the soft tyres. Now, very unusually, I normally take a sort of a minute or two break whenever I pit on this career mode, and I forgot to hit record again, so we're going to get the next section of the race courtesy of the replay cameras. So do forgive me if I don't know the positions or what lap we're on. I'm pretty sure this is later on the next lap. This is about lap 7 or 8 and coming up onto the back of Lance Stroll in the Williams then. Get into the slipstream, DRS wide open, and it's a fairly easy job to get through. And this is crucial for the strategy really. If we're going to be doing a 2-stop when some of those front runners might be doing a 1, we need to get through this traffic as quickly as possible. But we're actually going to go on to about lap 9 or 10 now, and we've been trying to get past Jolyon Palmer of all people. I know I should be embarrassed really, for about 3 laps now. It's one of those things that the corners I struggle on around here are the ones just before and just after overtaking points, so that really doesn't help us when we come up against a slower car. But we get the move done into turn 1, just about get ahead of Jolyon into the fast section. This is the only section I like on this track because it's very like Silverstone with the flowing left-right of Maggots and Beckett's. But once again we get held up behind a Toro Rosso for the next couple of laps. Fortunately, Kvyat it was, dives into the pits and we're released at long last. But once all the pit stops are shaken out, it's obvious a couple of people, including Vettel and Verstappen, are going to be doing 1-stops. But we're going to run wide there, and it is going to be Sebastian Vettel that tries to muscle his way back through, making up for his obviously grid penalty coming back through the field. I don't know what happened here really. I just completely saw red. Normally I would accept the situation. We're not going to beat a Ferrari today, we're in a Force India for goodness sake. But today I'd had enough. I'd got to almost half distance round Texas, which I never normally do. And I thought, let's have a go at this. And I would do anything every time Vettel tried to get past me to get back past the Ferrari. And you can see there a little bit of bumping wheels. Not normally a side-by-side section that. You're doing about 140, 150 miles an hour. But we somehow managed to find our way back through. And this was a duel that would go on for the rest of the race. As we lose a little bit out of the final corner, you can see how aggressive I'm being. I've literally turned from one side of the track to the other and tried and forced Vettel off. And we brake as late as we can into turn 1 and just about managed to force him out and stay ahead once again. And all these moves are in the space of about 2 laps. Just Vettel constantly coming at us. You can see here how we just swerve across the track, make a little bit of contact. I'm pretty sure some of the moves today would have been given penalties by Charlie Whiting in the FIA box, but fortunately we were not penalised for them today, and you could just say, those old timers could just say, it was good hard racing. We're going to go on board with Sebastian Vettel for this particular attempt. We run a little bit wide out of the left-hander, and he tries to find a way around the outside. Probably not too smart from Sebastian there, because obviously you got a long straight with DRS coming up and he kind of wasted his chance. But this is the lap afterwards. Again, that was just a swipe. That was just swiping straight into the side of him in an attempt to stay ahead. Again, I don't know what happens. I'm normally so courteous in both career and online, but we saw red literally today. And normally that would be done. That would be job done for Vettel. But in the mood we were in, and with DRS down the next straight, we were able to get past once again. And I think it was around about this time that we decided that we were going to try and hang on these super soft tyres. Obviously, it was a planned 2-stop strategy, and Vettel on the soft tyres was going to the end. But I thought, as long as we can keep ahead of him, and the tyres were holding up pretty well at the moment, as he tries to take another look down the inside, and unfortunately stays on the outside for the right-hander in the stadium section, and we once again just muscle him out. This is so much fun racing the AI this year. It really is. You can see how close you can get and how respectful they are. And you can go wheel to wheel with an AI car in this, like pretty much no other racing game that I can think of. But so you can see Max Verstappen there slowly closing up on us, and we're on to about lap 20 now. And I say we've made the decision that these super softs should just about last till the end if we're lucky, and we'll try it and take them to the end and do a one stop as Vettel once again goes down the inside. I mean, we are struggling on them at this point. They're probably around about 40-45% wear, and obviously the soft tyres on Vettel's car are a lot fresher, and going to go to the end without any problems at all. But once again, we just kamikaze it down the inside. And the crucial thing with this AI, if you're ever racing them, if you've got a faster car overtaking you, if they get past in DRS, you have to get past them within the next couple of corners, otherwise they will disappear, and that's what I've been trying to do in this race. So Verstappen has caught up the back. We've got a Toro Rosso catching us as well here, but you can see Verstappen and Vettel really going at each other, which is helping us out a little bit and giving us a little bit of respite. But as we go a couple of laps later, we have an almighty train now behind us, and we are just doing anything we can to keep them behind, within reason obviously. I think there's another Toro Rosso and Massa in the Williams catching us as well. As we finally remember to record, I think this is actually a little bit earlier than that last clip you saw, because you can see Verstappen and Vettel just at the end of their battle there. But you can see our tyres are up to 56 front left limited on this track, and I think we've locked it up a couple of times in defence as well. And as we go, just 3 laps to go now, and we truly do have a titanic train behind us of Vettel, Verstappen, Kvyat, Brendan Hartley. Is it Brendan Hartley in this game? No, it's Pierre Gasly, isn't it? Anyway, Vettel once again making a move on us. I think the other Toro Rosso and the Williams haven't quite joined us yet. They will in the next lap or two, because we're about half a minute behind Perez at this point, maybe even more. We're losing 2 or 3 seconds a lap to everybody, but still we're keeping ahead, and with 2 laps to go we really believe we can do this now. But we're getting to the danger zone on these tyres. Once they go over 70% on this game, especially the softer compounds, you really do see a massive drop in performance very quickly. It's not quite the cliff is generally 80 or 90%, but we're starting to feel the effects of those, and at long last Vettel gets through as we lock up, and we have one last chance to get down the inside of Verstappen. As I say, if you miss that one opportunity, then the AI are off into the distance, and it was a valiant fight. You know, I don't know where we would have finished if we'd done the 2-stop, but we tried to hang it out today just purely through a red mist almost that descended on us, as I say. And with just a few corners to go, Massa gets past in the same place as Vettel did with aid of the DRS. There's nothing we can do to fight back at this time. We're literally skating across the track trying to just wrestle it round for a point or two. And we do indeed have Kvyat and Gasly just behind us with just a few corners to go, and we can just about smell those points. Disappointed, of course, to not be finishing a little higher up, but I think even if we'd had a clean race on the right strategy, I think this is probably where we would have ended up. So at least we had got to have a bit of fun on the way, and we certainly had some fun with Vettel. I would have loved to have heard the radio messages from him this afternoon. But we do cross the line then. It's a couple of points. It's 9th place. It's not going to do us any good in the fight against Red Bull, but we had a fun afternoon anyway. Kimi Räikkönen reignites his championship challenge then with another win, as he continues to be completely unrealistic in this game. And I also looked at it at the end of the day that we held up Vettel and Verstappen to allow Perez to get 5th. So good team player. That's what I was going for. It wasn't anger or determination to try and beat Vettel. It was doing the team game and keeping them held up. So 9th it is. Toro Rosso get a point with Danny Kvyat. Fairly good result for him. And Massa obviously a few points in 8th. And Ricciardo managing to get 4th. Obviously having a pretty easy afternoon with Vettel and Verstappen stuck behind us. But it really doesn't help us in the championship then. So we drop back behind Ricciardo and Verstappen. We're still only a couple of points behind them, so that could go either way. And Perez almost over the century of points this season. But he's not scoring heavily enough to help us challenge Red Bull. If we don't pull off a couple of podiums, I think, in the last couple of races, we're probably not going to catch Red Bull now. We're about 50 points behind, with obviously 4 races to go. So it's all to play for, but as I say, we just wanted to be racing Red Bull at the end of the year, not necessarily ahead of them on points. We had a lot better mid-season than I thought we were going to. So, you know, from this point, we may as well just enjoy the last few races, take the results where they come, and then hopefully we can make some big improvements to the car next year. Now, obviously, with the game last year, it asked you, I think from Singapore onwards, whether you'd like to stop development of the car and save the research points for next year. We haven't been asked this year, and I thought maybe it was because we were not the #1 driver, but of course we were promoted a few races ago. So maybe it was a little too late, or maybe you've got to be the #1 driver for the whole season, but we don't have any points stored for next season, so it may well be the car that we end this season with that we start the next year's, which will be a little bit disappointing, but I'm sure we can work with it. So I'm sorry there's been a little break in this career mode. We'll try and get them up weekly again from now on. Say January was very difficult for content in general, and I hope you're still enjoying it. I know it's not, you know, the big YouTubers of bringing it out every day or every 2 days, and they're on like season 6 or 7. I'm just enjoying the races where they come, and I'm hoping to keep it going all the way through to 2018. So, you know, at the end of the day, we've got plenty of time to get the second season and maybe even a third in. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget that like button. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll see you again next time.